After midnight, the city behaves as if someone has pressed a finger to its lips. Streetlights hum, spilling tired orange stains across the wet asphalt. Somewhere out of sight, a freight train drags on, low, metallic, a sound that crawls along the edge of night without coming closer or moving away. The taxi idles. At the bottom of the windshield, a small triangle of warmth fogs the glass. The driver's hands rest on the wheel, 12 and 5. The turn signal clicks too loudly as he stops by a brick house with a wet porch. She steps out slowly, as if carrying a weight with no measure. Her black skirt scrapes the concrete. A shawl is pulled tight over her head, wrapped like a bandage. Under the dull gray fabric in her arms, something is pressed to her ribs, as if warmth matters more than shape. She pauses on the top step, looks both ways, then comes down without lifting her feet. Her shoes scrape. The sound is small, but it cuts. "Put it in the trunk, please." Her voice is even. Too even. The trunk opens with a damp thud. She sets the object inside carefully, and that's when he hears it. First, like fabric brushing against wire. Then a steady flutter. A beating against a boundary that will not give. He frowns. She notices and lifts the cloth. Black bars. Feathers pressed flat. A crow looking not at him, but through him. Eyes like polished stone. The streetlight hits them and freezes there, a sharp metallic point. "It's a bird," she says. A crow. He works the night shift. He knows which questions not to ask. He closes the trunk. She sits in the back seat, straight spine, knees together, hands folded as if relaxing would be a mistake. The address is a church in Kensington. 2 a.m. He says okay in the same voice he uses for anyone heading somewhere that's already closed. The city drifts by. Water clings to everything. Plastic bags snag on tree roots. Under a bus shelter, a couple holds each other by the elbows, like letting go would let the night take them. In the mirror, her face is only a shape. He tries to loosen the silence. "Cold hour." "The right one," she says. A pause. "I prefer it." From the trunk, soft, quick movement. Almost a heartbeat. He turns the heat up. Warmth should be real. "Churches are closed," he says. "They open for what needs opening." It doesn't sound like an opinion. It sounds like a rule. Under the L tracks, the noise becomes a thought you can't finish. Graffiti on the pillars looks like a language that knows it will be erased. The crow makes a sound, not a call, more a reminder that it's there. He turns the radio off. The address comes too fast. Black brick. Boarded windows. A door with hinges made for a heavy chain. A sign, just a faded rectangle with no words left. He stops. The crow strikes the metal twice. The sound is too clean. Too deliberate. She gets out without asking him to wait or help. He opens the trunk. The lid lifts easily, though the cold should have fought it. She takes the cage as if it will remember her touch, and disappears into a side yard through a torn fence. He waits. For the chain. For the lock. Nothing. He steps out. The ground smells of wet pollen and old laundry. The door has no chain. The iron loops are empty, white scars around the holes. The cage stands 3 feet from the threshold. "Hello?" The word sinks. Sound doesn't come back here. The door moves on its own, an inch inward. As if someone inside made room for air. From within comes not a sound, but the promise of one. Something between breath and wind. He steps back. The crow tilts its head. He can't tell if its eyes reflect light or make their own. He takes the cage, only to move it, to mark a boundary. The metal is colder than it should be. His hand cramps. The wing lifts, not to strike, just to show span, black geometry swallowing what little light there is. He lets go. In the car, the heat feels fake. The crow calls once. A clean sound that somehow carries inside the cab. He realizes his hand is on the trunk latch. He goes back. The cage is gone. The door is closed again, not quite right, like wood that never learned its place. He knocks. The sound is dull. It goes nowhere. The answer comes from above, from the steeple. High. Thin. Certain. He drives away. The night doesn't grow heavier. It grows thinner, as if trying to seal over what he saw. The days after stay too sharp. He doesn't forget the church. He sleeps badly. Sometimes he hears a clear metal knock where nothing should be. 3 weeks later, a man gets in the cab and asks to be dropped by the fence, the one where the wire folds like a hand. The crow calls from the steeple. The man laughs once, quietly, like the bottom of a well just told him the truth. Evan drives on. Some doors open only enough to tell you the language beyond them is not yours. And somewhere behind such a door, a bird waits for a speech people chose not to carry. I remember that night too clearly. Not like a normal memory, but like a feeling that comes back every time I close my eyes. I'm 26 now. Back then I was 12. My parents went out for the evening, leaving me at home with my older brother Zach. He was 18. He told me he'd step out to see some friends. Just for a little while. He asked me not to tell anyone. I agreed. When the front door closed behind him, the house changed. It wasn't empty. It was too quiet. At first, I felt grown up. Independent. That feeling didn't last. I turned on a horror movie in the living room. It seemed harmless. Something to pass the time. But I quickly realized the movie wasn't the scary part. The house was. The floors made sounds I had never noticed before. The wind touched the windows. The refrigerator clicked in the silence. Every noise felt uncomfortably timed. I kept glancing at the staircase behind the couch. It felt like something was there. Eventually, I shut off the TV and ran upstairs, not looking back. In the bathroom, I tried to calm myself. I stared at my reflection. I listened. Then I went to my room and turned on my Xbox, hoping distraction would help. I played for a long time. Long enough to almost forget why I was scared. Almost. When I finally lay down in bed, the house reminded me again. I heard the front door close. I told myself it was Zach. That made sense. I stayed still, listening as someone moved downstairs. But whoever it was didn't come up. The sounds continued. Quiet. Unclear. They lasted too long to feel normal. I went to the window and looked outside. Zach's car wasn't there. That's when I understood. I was alone. I didn't have a phone. To call anyone, I would have had to leave my room. I couldn't do that. I checked my door. It was locked. But I knew it could still be open from the other side. I looked around my room and chose the only place that felt even slightly safe. A small built-in closet. I climbed inside and quietly closed the door. I hoped I was wrong. That this was just fear. Then I heard someone touch the handle. The door opened. Someone entered my room. I heard footsteps. I heard things being moved. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. Time stopped making sense. I don't know how long it lasted. Eventually, the footsteps faded away. I stayed in that closet until I heard Zach's voice. When he walked into my room, I knew one thing for sure, that wasn't him earlier. We checked the house together. Some things were missing. Drawers were open. Someone really had been there. The police arrived. My parents came back near morning. My mom said the only thing that mattered was that I was okay. But the feeling never left. Sometimes, I still hear those footsteps. And I remember that someone stood in my room while I waited in silence, hidden in the dark. Some emergency calls should not exist. Not because they are fake, but because what is being described should be impossible. And yet these calls are real. Recorded. Verified. Preserved. They capture the exact moment when a person is still speaking, still hoping, while the outcome is already sealed. At 2:45 a.m. On November 7, 2014, a 45-year-old man named Joseph Parker dialed 911 from his home in Springville, Tennessee. He did not report an accident. He did not ask for police protection. He began by confessing. 2 days earlier, on the night of his 12th wedding anniversary, he shot his wife, Samantha, in the head at close range. Believing she was dead, he placed her body inside a freezer in the garage. But that was not why he was calling. Joseph told the operator that when he opened the freezer that morning, he realized something was wrong. Samantha was not dead. She was frozen solid, unable to move or speak, with a gunshot wound to her temple, but she was conscious. According to him, she could still blink. 1 blink for yes. 2 blinks for no. He spoke calmly, almost gently, insisting this was not a prank. He repeated that he loved her and begged for help to arrive quickly. When police entered the garage later that day, they found Samantha's body inside the freezer. She had been dead for days. There was no sign of life. No blinking. No awareness. The conversations Joseph described never happened. They existed only in his mind. Hours later, as officers attempted to stop his vehicle, Joseph Parker took his own life. Toxicology reports later showed drugs in his system, likely the reason he truly believed the dead were responding to him. Sometimes the most terrifying emergency calls are not lies. They are belief without reality. In December of 2024, Jennifer Sheffield posted a video online. She spoke about her divorce from her husband, Brandon, after nearly 10 years of marriage. Her voice was steady. She described the separation as calm and respectful. She thanked Brandon for his support and said they were focused on their child. There was fear in her words, but also hope. She believed things would be okay. 18 days later, family members went to their home in Mississippi for a welfare check. Jennifer and Brandon were found dead inside. Each had a single gunshot wound to the head. Investigators determined that Brandon shot Jennifer before killing himself. What happened that night was never fully explained. But Jennifer's final video remains online, a permanent record of confidence and trust just days before everything ended. Public calm does not mean safety. On June 14, 2017, Rana Ibrahim began live streaming from her apartment in Grenfell Tower in London. Thick smoke filled the hallways. Fire alarms echoed through the building. Emergency operators gave the same instruction over and over again. Stay put. It was official policy. It was supposed to keep people safe. But the building was already lost. Flammable exterior panels turned the fire into a vertical trap, sending flames racing upward. Rana was on the 23rd floor with her children. Helicopters circled outside, visible through the smoke, giving the impression that rescue was close. In reality, they were not rescue helicopters at all. Fire crews were ordered not to go above the 12th floor. No one was coming for them. Rana trusted the instructions. She waited. Minutes later, her live stream went dark, That night, 72 people died. Not because the fire was unstoppable, but because the danger had been ignored long before it began. These stories are not connected by violence alone. They are connected by a single moment, when a person is still talking, still following rules, still believing help is on the way, while the ending has already been decided. These calls and recordings remain not as warnings, but as proof of how thin the line is between control and collapse. Sometimes, that line lasts only a single blink.